In this podcast, we will reveal the truth of how the most successful businesses and people in India gain that subtle advantage called luck that has the power to totally transform your life. From the smallest ripple can come the largest wave. A chance encounter, a link between two beings, one small piece of luck stacked upon luck, can move an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. The key to this success is Lakshmi, the one who leads us to our goal. She is the powerful goddess of luck, fortune, and the household, and is one of the Tridevi, which include Parvati and Saraswati. To understand how she is the key to your success, you must understand the origin of Lakshmi. The origin of Lakshmi. There are many origins of Lakshmi, but one of the most important ones is placed at the center of Hindu philosophy, and that is how Lakshmi emerged from the Milky Ocean. We will relate the orthodox Hindu form first, and then delve deeper into the original Dravidian Aaiyyanist texts. In Orthodox Hinduism, the great tantric sage Durvasa, an adept of Lord Shiva, was traveling the earth in a heightened state of Katvukelya. This is a yogic tantric state where emotions such as joy, anger, sadness are heightened and merged into one. This state is used to approach Brahman oneness via the oneness of all emotional states. The opposite non-tantric state is a state of no emotion or detachment, which many of you are familiar with. Whilst in this emotional state, the great sage obtained and wore a powerful garland of flowers from an otherworldly being. Much later, several years in fact, and still in the Katvukelya tantric state, he then happened upon the great god Indra who was riding his elephant. In the Katvukelya state, the sage threw the garland at Indra who caught it and put it on his elephant. However, the elephant did not understand the power of the garland and discarded it and threw it to the floor. As sage Durvasa was in the Katvukelya state, his rage anger emotion took hold, and he cursed Indra and the Devas, or gods, for the perceived insult of his gift being discarded. Indra immediately knew the power of the tantric curse and begged Durvasa to retract, but it was too late. What was done was done. Thus, the power of the gods started to decline, and the negative demonic entities in the form of asuras decided to wage war to claim authority over the universe. However, an unbalance resulted, and the asuras knew this. The gods looked for help from Brahma, and then Vishnu, who then convinced them to seek a truce with the asuras and work together on the momentous task of churning the cosmic Milky Ocean to obtain Amrita, the elixir of immortality. At this point in time, in the ancient past, the Devas and Asuras were not fully immortal and had a long but finite lifespan. The Amrita could prolong their existence in this Brahman cycle. To churn the ocean, the Devas and Asuras used the great serpent king Vasuki, wrapped around a mountain, Mount Mandarachala. Vasuki, as many of you know, is the coiled serpent king around Lord Shiva's neck, and an important Naga being for Tantric Aaiyanists. When the ocean was churned by the gods and demons, pulling Vasuki back and forth, for thousands of years, many mystical artifacts arose, including a terrible poison absorbed by Shiva. Also the nectar of immortality, Amrita, powerful weapons, the king of the horses, and many beings and gods of which one of the most important is of course Lakshmi. When Lakshmi emerged, she was drawn to Vishnu as she understood the karmic nature of the universe and is destined to be reborn with Vishnu's incarnations time after time. This can be demonstrated with her incarnations as Sita when Vishnu was incarnated as Rama. In Orthodox Hinduism, she sided with the Devas against the Asuras, but this is a twisting of history. It is a rewriting of the original Dravidian truth, which we will reveal now. Now, in Dravidian Aayyanism, Lakshmi is known as Melucirpikayan. This is her original ancient Dravidian name, since she was entombed in the Milky Ocean. As all Aaiyanists know, this ocean is really an analogy for the Melucirpikayan dimensional space, which is close to the source of Brahman. It is milky white in nature, and when visualized via astral projection. This is also close to the Nathuvuan Loka, where Murugan Ayya resides. This area of space is a link to Brahman and many other powerful lokas, talas, and other phenomenal dimensional spaces. So, when the Asuras and Devas churned this space, many powerful artifacts were churned to the surface. This disturbance caused fractures in other realms and brought forth the Halhala poison from Tala space. It also brought forth the Amrita from a dimensional area that was of a Kanamki Tukarya form, and of course Lakshmi, Melucirpikayan, who straddled many dimensional realms in the Melucirpicanal space. In this Brahman cycle, she is linked with Vishnu. But in the next one, both entities will be transformed to a different state to begin the cycle anew. The great teacher Siven Oddaiyyan has an excellent blog piece on the nature and rhythm of the universe, which all listeners should read. The link is in the description. Note the Kanamki Tukarya dimensional space, which houses Amrita, is said to be an area that is timeless of the highest order. So, of all the miraculous objects and beings that were retrieved from the Melucirpicanal space, Lakshmi or Melucirpikayan is one of the most important. She is the being that leads us to our goals, a being that brings forth luck, fortune, and wealth, and other positive benefits. She resides in the Melucirpicanal space, and this is what you need to become attuned to in order to become one with her. So, what does this mean in the real world? If you summon and become slowly linked with Lakshmi, interesting fortune, coincidences, and other subtle changes will occur to improve your life. For example, you may have a chance encounter with a soulmate who you will become friends with, may even go into business with, or be introduced to the right people who will aid you in this journey. You may read something that leads to a job or an opportunity in your life. Or you may befall an accident and meet someone who cares for you. These are the slight changes that occur when you start to become attuned to Lakshmi or Melusirpikayan. When you become more attuned, even greater coincidences will occur. Good fortune will beget more fortune, until everything you do, whether you realize it or not, will transform your life for the better. If you study hard or create a good business, your fortune may be increased slightly. But there have been many studies that show that it does not matter how much you learn or strive. If thousands of individuals were applying for the same position, only the lucky ones will succeed. They have the edge that only Lakshmi can offer, if only you open your heart to embrace it. There is an interesting tale of a certain business family who were deeply attuned to Lakshmi. One of the cousins, an academic scholar, became very wealthy by creating an import export business, by fortunately meeting the right people at the right time, and becoming close associates. Another cousin, though, who was not academically gifted, was leading a normal life, but was involved in a car accident and unfairly imprisoned for a year. But in that time he linked with three people in the prison that formed an unbreaking bond, so when they were released began a business partnership that made this ordinary man much more successful than his cousin. He also benefited many poor people in the region. We will not reveal their names as their crime has been served and is not widely known outside their family, but this truth is something that you must be aware of. Fortune is in the hands of the divine. Fortune may be, in fact, the spark that uplifts everything. Millions of people worship Lakshmi and pray to her, but the reason that their prayers are unanswered is because they do not know how to resonantly link with her. This is because they do not know her true name or her true yantra, Melucirpikayan. Knowing a name, a mantra, and a yantra is a very powerful act. Many people in the ancient times used to guard their name, their image, and if they know it, their yantra. The yantra of Lakshmi was taught to the British in the 17th century, and then this knowledge was transferred to the USA by many Indian gurus, not just Aaiyanists. China and Japan know the ancient yantras also, as do many Indians. The problem is that the majority of people do not know or wish to know this knowledge. In fact, the universe itself will prevent people using this yantra, either by hiding it from them or making them dismiss it. So many people around the world offer prayers to Lakshmi and prayers for good business, but nothing good happens to them. And yet others who draw and chant the yantra and mantra become incredibly successful. If you look around the world, over 90% of people who are successful are knowingly or unknowingly linking with Lakshmi. The ones that are unknowingly linking have performed the Melucirpikayan ritual before death, so that they will remain linked to this space for 7 generations. This is why you meet people who are naturally lucky. So, with this in mind, summoning Lakshmi is a dedicated task. It requires time and effort, but the rewards are great. How to summon Lakshmi? To summon Lakshmi, all you have to do is draw this yantra, shown on the screen, over and over until you have memorized it. If you are listening to this as a podcast, you can ask the Aaiyyan World Foundation to send you a copy. Once you have memorized the yantra, this is the universe's way of teaching you that you are becoming attuned to Lakshmi and her realm. As you draw the yantra, you must also chant the mantra of Melucirpikayan, which is the original ancient name of Lakshmi. This will draw you closer to her. Not many Orthodox Hindus know this. That is why so many are poor in wealth, health, and life choices. This yantra is difficult to master and memorize. This is because life is hard and difficult for many people. You have to struggle and strive to achieve your goals in life. Nothing is easy unless you keep trying and practicing. The yantra takes the form of a traditional Loka yantra, Tala yantra, and the Melucirpicanal phone. The Melucirpicanal space, as you know, is a region that is close to Brahman and straddles many dimensional spaces, thus, it is able to pull the energy and material from many important planes of reality. If you visit this region via astral projection, you will see this power yourself. When you summon Lakshmi via this method, it may take 500 to 1000 inscriptions before you begin to become resonantly attuned to her. This number is for people who have no spiritual baseline and have not summoned entities in this lifetime or their previous ones. There are many people listening to this podcast who are already resonantly attuned to summoning entities, so this method will be much faster. If you have summoned Lakshmi in an immediate previous lifetime, then performing the ritual will bring immediate results. Once you begin to become attuned to Lakshmi, you will feel her presence in the room with you. And as you become more and more attuned, you will eventually see her in her divine glory. Once you see her or detect her presence, you must treat her like any other god or divine being. You must treat her with respect and love and oneness. You may speak with her, and she will answer verbally or via the mind. When you are beginning to become attuned to Lakshmi and the Melusapikanal dimension, good things will begin to happen to you. You will become very fortunate, you will meet the right people, and business deals and opportunities will present themselves to you at an exponential rate. If you want a highly powered yantra of Lakshmi, A high Aaiyyanist master or high Aaiyani can produce one for you. As these masters are very attuned to the Melucirpikayan space, the resonant power will be very greatly amplified. So great, in fact, that many successful world businesses use these high power yantras in their private areas. We are not talking exclusively about Indian businesses, but also other countries. Some Chinese business people may be familiar with the Shang form of the Melucirpikayan Yantra, and there is an Asuka Japanese form called the Melucirpikayan that is only known to a few prominent businesses. If you receive a yantra produced by a high Aaiyyanist, you do not need to draw the yantra to open the Melucirpikayan space, but we do suggest you personally draw the yantra and chant the mantra to become personally attuned to this dimension, so that you will become personally attuned to Lakshmi. It is easier to speak with her if you are personally attuned. Many businesses do ask a high Aaiyyanist to produce the Melucirpikayan Yantra to place in their business settings so that their area of working is attuned to this dimension. What this means is that their place of work will facilitate business and wealth much more readily, and this is usually what a business wants. Please note though, the waiting list of obtaining this yantra is long, and the demand is high. That is why we are showing you how to produce one yourself. We hope you take the time to learn and master this art, as this will not only aid you in this life, but your subsequent incarnations. So we hope you have enjoyed this podcast. If you wish to know more about the ancient Dravidian sciences, please contact us via our email address or website shown here and in the description. If you would like to support us, please consider becoming a patron as you will have exclusive access to powerful yantras and teachings and be part of a community that is pushing the boundaries of spirituality. We thank you for listening and we wish you well on the journey.